And my, how the mighty have fallen. We're currently looking today at $26 silver and even 18 or $1,837 gold an ounce. This comes a day after silver goes above $30 and, didn't take too long for it to come back down. Now, I want to talk about all of this, and hopefully it doesn't take too long, but one of the reasons why that huge drop happened was there's just a lot of back and forth, a lot of controversy about what was happening when it came to, Wall Street bets, their play in GME, and also whether or not they were behind the rise in silver prices. Now, many people on Wall Street bets were saying that, hey, we're not behind this. This is, employed by the big hedge funds and the big market makers. And we'll talk about that later on in this video. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And one of the reasons why I say that is because you have to go back to the start of this whole thing. And one of the wars that have been happening between traders, especially on Robinhood, and the people who are on the other side of the trade. Now, that is very important. Erykah Badu used to have a song called Other Side of the Game. We're going to talk about the other side of the trade. And the other side of the trade for Robinhood is completed and executed by a couple of or a few institutions, but Citadel is one of the largest ones. Now, you've probably heard this name a lot, especially if you're in the silver space, because if you'd been looking at a lot of Wall Street bets forums, you might have seen people say, well, hey, don't get into SLV because Citadel is one of the largest holders of SLV, and you only help them make money essentially. And the interesting thing about that is, yes, that is true. But the other thing is that Citadel is going to make money regardless. And I'll show you why by the end of this video. But Citadel makes a lot of money from trading on Robinhood because they're on the other side of the trade. They pay Robinhood a lot of money so they can be the people to help execute the orders that you place on the app in Robinhood. And I place on the app in Robinhood. I use Robinhood. And yes, they do have a large share in silver. And one of the reasons why silver came down is because people were getting out of that trade as they start to see that, hey, we're not behind, as soon as Wall Street bets were saying, hey, we're not behind this, a lot of this steam came out, which makes sense. The DXY was up ungodly high. Well, I shouldn't say ungodly high, but relative to recent trading, the DXY went up above 91, while the SLV was up extremely high. So one of you guys actually mentioned that in the comments section, and that doesn't make sense. Why would silver be high while the DXY is high? So it doesn't really surprise me that the price came down too much. And usually after attempts of short squeezes or actual short squeezes, you start to see a dramatic drop in price. So let's talk about the other side of the trade really quick. Here is Robinhood Financial's SEC Rule 606 report disclosure for the third quarter of 2019. Now, this basically right here shows during that quarter, the institutions that were on the other side of our trades. Citadel is the top one, 2 Sigma below them, G1 Execution Services below them, Wolverine Securities, and then Virtue Americas. Now, one of the reasons why this is important to note is because there are a lot of free brokerage accounts that we use. And obviously, when Robinhood first came out, they said, hey, famously, we'll charge you nothing for the use of our platform. And a lot of people raised their eyebrows, which makes sense because, as we know, there is no free lunch. And many people noted that, hey, one of the largest sources of income from Robinhood is their payment for order flow that they receive from companies like Citadel. And then Citadel also makes money when they participate in the markets by helping to finalize the order that you place on Robinhood's app. But here's the interesting thing. Soon after, other organizations or other institutions like Robinhood also started to implement their own $0 commissions for trading. But that didn't mean that they weren't engaging in payment for order flow beforehand. But here's the interesting thing about Citadel. Citadel is just, you can't run away from them. Take a look here. E-Trade Securities. Virtue is above them, but Citadel is right below them. And of course, we have G1 Execution. Let's also take a look at Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab, they have a lot of commercials out right now talking about their zero commission trades. And Citadel is right up there as well. Virtue Americas is right below them. G1 Execution is right below them. 2 Sigma, you see them right there. TD Ameritrade, I also have a Thinkorswim account. But if I use Thinkorswim, guess who is helping to fulfill some of those orders? Citadel. So, and you see Virtue America and G1 right there as well. So no matter where you run to, no matter what brokerage firm you use, you're going to have to deal with Citadel. And unfortunately, even if we would like to stick it to Citadel, we can only stick it to Citadel if we do business with Citadel. And we do business with Citadel every single time we buy or sell a share on one of these platforms. So that's something that I want you to take away from this whole thing. Yes, Citadel was a large owner of SLV, which helped to bump up the overall, or people getting into SLV was one of the reasons why silver prices bumped up. And yes, Citadel owns a large portion of SLV. But the other thing to remember is that even though that's the case, if you're buying a lot on these platforms, Citadel's probably there also making money off of that as well. So just keep that in the back of your head. There is obviously somewhat of a conflict of interest here when it comes to Robinhood and their behavior last week when it came to limiting the amount of orders you could buy for GameStop, given the fact that Citadel did put a lot of money into Melvin Capital. Melvin Capital was shorting, and Melvin Capital lost a lot of money. And Citadel, being one of the largest customers for Robinhood, this is all alleged. You can't say any of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled them aside and said, hey, you know what? Guess what? We don't want to lose money, and you don't want to lose money, and you don't want to lose our services. So come correct, Robinhood. Fix this. We're not telling you what to do, but you don't want to lose your largest customer, do you? I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. I'm not saying it did happen at all, but I wouldn't be surprised. But guys, let me know what you think about this whole fiasco in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're new. It's Black Bullion for goldandsilvertoday.com.